This is Moon Mulligan, and this is Let's Find Out with Diego.
Are you curious about the unknown, the unexplainable? Do you find yourself intrigued by the mysterious and paranormal side of our world? Join us on an adventure into the world of inexplicable discoveries and investigations that may someday give us the final answer as to what may be behind the veil of reality. The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia. It's another episode of Let's Find Out with Diego. Thank you for taking this journey with me. On this episode of Let's Find Out, our guest is not your average film director. He's an adventurous pioneer in the world of horror comedy films. With a knack for working wonders on low to no budgets, he's blazing a trail in independent filmmaking for his production company, Zombie Fuel. Recently, he unveiled his latest creation, Crick Foot, which premiered at the Waynesboro Theater in Pennsylvania, captivating audiences with its unique blend of horror and comedy. The world of indie filmmaking is in for an exhilarating ride, filled with creativity and fearlessly innovative storytelling. All this plus more. Please welcome to Let's Find Out our good friend, Bone Jawnson. Bojo, my friend, welcome to Let's Find Out. I'm happy to finally have you on the show, man.
I love that you call me Bojo. I think I have to start using that now. That was awesome.
Is that right? I figured that would be the natural thing to call you. That's awesome. No,
yeah, it's perfect. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it. I love it. I'm going to use it now.
Oh, please do. So, my friend, you haven't been in the movie making scene that long. Actually, I think it was started last year sometime or year before last.
And yeah, last year.
Wow, and then Shazam, fast forward, you have a movie that premiered not long ago. How the hell did you get there so quickly? Because you started making movies, I mean, you were just using your phone, right?
I started making movies around, I'm going to say March of 2023 is I just got into this. I was watching something. I think I was just watching a lot of indie movies on Tubi or something like that. And I just got it in my head. I'm like, you know what? I have a cell phone. We have all sorts of technology around us. Technology that I can hold in my hand, free computer programs. I have a Chromebook and a phone. And now I'm just going to go for it. So I just started doing little shorts. I came up with the name Zombie Fuel just on a whim. I don't know. I pulled it out of thin air, and that's the name I stuck with. So I just started making shorts using my phone around my hometown of Hatfield, Pennsylvania. And I just started putting them up on YouTube, and I was trying to get one every month if I could, depending on how my schedule was. And honestly, a lot of these movies were the shorts were made just, if I was out going to the grocery store, I would, come up with a concept real fast and knock out some footage, and everything was improvised. I just had a concept in my head and I just ran with it. But I started doing that. And a couple months later, I had this idea for the Legend of Crick Foot, and I put the idea out there as a mockumentary style film because I love that whole genre of mockumentary movies, a lot of improv. I'm a big, like This Is Spinal Tap and Reno 911 situations.
You read my mind.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say like Best in Show and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's one of my favorite films ever. All the Christopher Guest films, Eugene Levy. Everything involved with him. I just had this concept and I put it out there, and Matt Burns noticed it one day of Small Town Horrors Productions. And he's like, no, I think we can go feature length here. So I tell a lot of people that, I've been connected to Matt Burns for a couple years, but this is our first project working together, that I wasn't too sure of what a film producer was until, Matt Burns, was guiding me through this process. He he pulled all the resources together. He was pulling people together, pulling ideas together. He would look at my rough cuts. He would look at the examples I was coming up with and guide me in, every direction along the way. But honestly, it was just supposed to be like a 20-minute short film. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be, I'm going to expand a little bit on my shorts and make it a 25-minute short film. And we're just going to have some fun, and I'm going to crank it out and, go on to the next thing. But man, did this thing gain some traction, legs all over the place. I filmed all my parts on my phone, my cell phone. Everything was improvised. I put a very small, blurb out there on, directionally for people to follow. And everybody was just filming on their computers, iPads, phones. It was all just raw, uncut footage. They sent it to me, and I just kind of put the storyline together I had in my head and came up with the Legend of Crick feature film. It was all just kind of happened so fast,
Yeah, and that's part of the charm of the movie, because you're having all these I'll say different people submitting different things to you, and you put it all together. It's funny you mentioned Matt. I'm actually going to have him on here probably next week, and
nice.
He's got a great story himself how he got started filmmaking. But before we hit Crick Foot, because I'm dying to get into this.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry that I missed the premiere.
That's okay.
And there comes a time in someone's life when kind of the same thing when I got into podcasting, where you try to set everything up and you're almost scared to start because you're looking at other things that are already happening. You see other filmmakers, I see other podcasters, and you're looking at what they're doing. When was it that you finally said, screw it, I'm going to start this, and you hit record for the first time?
Honestly, it was just it was back in that March 2023 time frame when I started doing all my shorts. And I've done projects in the past that, I've done a lot of event planning in the past, and major events and smaller events. So I had this logistics experience to how to line everything up to achieve the goal. But I've not done it with filmmaking. So when the first day I started to grab footage for my first short called Is It Dead? I just said, you know what? I have this stupid idea. I'm just going to hit record. I'm going to say some lines. I'm going to put together what I think would be funny or what I think would be interesting. Just drawing on, any indie movie I've seen or, major motion picture, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just drawing on all that visual knowledge. And I just went for it. And I researched, I looked up some short films too, and some micro short films from the indie world, just to get an example of how should it look, what should it look like. And then I just took those ideas and I just went, I just did it. I didn't show anybody my first short film until it was done. And I'm like, hey, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, I really don't care. I had fun doing it. And I think the hardest part about doing this stuff is actually just starting. You can have have the most expensive equipment known to man, but if you don't start your project, you're never going to finish it. So, I made mistakes along the way, just as far as, maybe it didn't sound as good as I wanted it to sound, or something was covering up the microphone, or my phone fell in the middle of me filming something and I thought it was a good take, but I just did it again. You just pick up and you keep going. But I hit record and said, I'm going to do this thing. And if people like it, they can get on board. And if they don't, that's fine. There's stuff out there for everybody. And really, I just ended up doing this for me as a way to express the ideas that I had in my head.
Awesomely said, because it's funny because you mentioned you try to get everything set up. It's almost, if you overthink it, the term paralysis by analysis comes to place to where you're thinking about what could go wrong and you never really do it. And I understand, brother, just hit record and you can always fix it later or do it over. Yeah,
of course. That's kind of the beauty of the technology we have. It's like, all right, I'm recording on my phone because I don't have like an HD camera to use. But every phone has a camera. I just do it over again. If I don't like it, I'll just delete it and do it again. That's kind of the world we live in now. We have all this instant technology around us that I figured, you know what, I'm just going to press the boundaries a little bit to see if I can edit these things on something that might not be traditionally used. I mean, I use the free online program Canva, just the cloud-based graphic designer website. I edit everything through there because all I had was a Chromebook. I didn't have a laptop or desktop or anything. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to utilize what I have. And if it takes me a little extra keystrokes or some extra time to get it where I want, it's just going to take some extra time. And, that's how I saw it is, can I do this with a phone and a Chromebook and some free software? And, truth is, yes, you can.
Yes, you can, of course. And it's interesting because now when I'm hearing part of your story, you're talking about limited technology,
Yes.
limited things to use. You didn't have a camera, and you rely on these things that are easily available.
Mm-hmm.
To eventually now, fast forward, you had a movie that premiered.
Yes.
In the Waynesboro Theater in Pennsylvania. How the hell did you manage that? Because that's awesome.
Yeah, that was I gotta give props to Matt Burns on that one, because I just, going into this, I'm like, okay, cool, we're gonna hit 60 minutes probably. I wasn't dead set on saying, all right, it's got to be this long, we got to get it in theaters here, we got to do X, Y, and Z. It was going to be however long it was going to be based on the footage I had, what I could use, how I could cut it together, how I could tell the story. And it turned out to be like an hour and 12 minutes long, which was great. It's nice. It's fast paced. It keeps moving. But Matt Burns came up with the idea to say, hey, I have this theater that I've worked with in the past to do indie movie premieres. I'm going to set up the date, the time, and, we're just going to go from there. So he did all the legwork to set up, the time, the place, like where was it going to be, what's going to happen. He paired it together with another indie film as well. So it was kind of like this dual premiere. We had like an opening movie and then the Crick Foot movie. But Matt really just put it all together and said, here's the date. You need this on a Blu-ray or a DVD. By this date, you need to have it all together. Come with your merch, set it all up and let's go. So yeah, Matt just really gave me the date and time, and I just I took the reins on everything else with using my buddy Billy Leak. It was the one that did the cover artwork for the film. So I just took that and I created the DVD artwork, and Matt gave me a recommendation on a company to use to get DVDs made, and I had never ordered a DVD in my entire life before, so it was a whole new experience to me. But I pressed through and said, you know what, I need these things on this date and this time. I'm going to put my head down and we're going to get to it. And we just kept spreading the word, promo. And we got about 50 or 60 people to show up for this dual premiere, and I was really taken aback. I could not believe it that everybody came out to support the premiere. And it on my end, it actually was a fundraiser. We raised, I think, a couple $100 for a local food bank charity, Man on Main Street in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, which is
awesome.
next to Hatfield. So, and the Waynesboro Theater is run as a nonprofit too, so it was really cool to have like a nonprofit doing this premiere and then donating back to another nonprofit, which made me really happy, because that was my goal from the beginning, was to recoup some costs on my end, especially with the DVDs, because they cost a little bit of money. But recoup that, and then everything else just goes right to charity. But yeah, Matt really spearheaded the whole thing, and just gave me the confidence and the drive to make it actually happen. It's just proof positive that if you surround yourself with people that will support you, you're going to be able to do a lot of great things.
That's 100% true, my friend. And now that we're jumping to the part with Crickfoot,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to get into the movie here in a second.
Yeah.
I'll ask you this question, because I wouldn't be a great host without asking the obvious. With Crickfoot being, I would assume, influenced by the cryptids or paranormal type of things,
Mm-hmm.
have you always had any interest in the cryptozoology or the paranormal? How much of that went into that influenced you to making this film?
Well, I've always liked that stuff. I've just always been naturally interested in it, because I remember being, in grade school and checking out the books on ghosts and, like Jersey Devil and Bigfoot and Sasquatch and the Yeti and all that kind of stuff. But there was like part of that was a component of the movie. The character itself of Crickfoot was actually inspired by my dad, who he my whole life growing up and even to this day, he was a construction worker and he was always doing yard work outside. I grew up next to the edge of our property, butted up against a creek in the backyard. So growing up, I would always catch him out of the corner of my eye in the woods and quickly think that there's like a Bigfoot back there. Like, oh, what's that thing in the woods? Oh God, it's just Dad. Okay. So it was last year, right when I cracked the idea, that I was over at my parents' house doing something and I had my computer out. I was writing something. It could have been movie related or not. I don't recall. But I looked out their back window and there was my dad in the woods at, 75 doing yard work. And I'm like, oh my God, he's still out there. So in my head, I'm like, oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's still the kind of shock and looking like a Bigfoot back there because he's got a big beard like me. So, I'd always see like the big beard first. And I was like, and I'm just thinking, sitting there in my parents' house, I go, it'd be funny if I came up with a fake documentary or mockumentary about a Hatfield PA-based cryptid. And the first thing in my head was like, oh, that would be funny if it wasn't called Bigfoot and I called him Crick Foot because my dad's, he's always wandered by the creek. And then I thought it a little bit further. And growing up, my mom pronounced creek like crick. And she grew up in Philadelphia and she had that little bit of a twang accent. And it would always come out crick and like water. So I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, Crickfoot. There it is. Crickfoot. The Legend of Crickfoot. It was all in one shot. It was within like minutes. So I hopped on the graphic design program and I started putting together, a picture and a concept, and it all just came out all at once. And I started posting it around because I wanted, some local music in it or indie music and some indie actors to improvise. And then kind of that's when Matt got a hold of it and was like, we can take this to the next level. Let's make it a cult classic, So it all just kind of stemmed from me having an interest in that type of cryptid and paranormal stuff. And then, sitting in my parents' kitchen, seeing my dad doing yard work down by the creek, and then just putting 2 and 2 together. And that's kind of how it was born.
It was meant to be, man. That's what it
sounds
like.
Yeah, definitely.
So then, which brings me to the question of, we learned a little bit about Crickfoot and how the concept came, but what does it want? What is it doing out there?
I think Matt asked me that question when I came up with this concept, because at first it was just a cryptid in the woods. Like, it's just a Hatfield PA-based cryptid. And I think Matt asked me, like, well, what does it do? What's the goal of this character that you've created? And I was in the middle of something, and I texted him back. I said, I don't know, man. It steals hot dogs. It wants hot dogs because Hatfield, there's a national brand called Hatfield Meats or Hatfield Meat Products. They've been around forever, and what they're really famous for is the Hatfield hot dogs, which have a close association with the Philadelphia Phillies, and they used to have a $1 dog night. It was always sponsored and backed by Hatfield Meats. So I just said off the cuff, I don't know, man, he likes to steal hot dogs from like people and campers and this and that. And then I had to go do something else during my day or in the middle of that conversation. So the whole stealing of the hot dogs and being obsessed with hot dogs really was just an off the cuff thing. And then that got disseminated to everybody that was involved. And then they took it to this next level, which was really, really funny because we had this collective consciousness happening that like more than one person started talking about this mythical or fake like yearly Hatfield hot dog festival. They just came up with it in their own minds. Like they heard this one thing and then they took it to the next level. And then I started, for whatever reason, joking about how he's always on the prowl for like hot dogs, or like wants to hook up with women, and he likes to drink natty daddy beers, and he smokes these great backwoods cigars. Like all this stuff is just like things I would see in the store, like the one convenience store by me, obviously the selling the tobacco products. And my eyes one day just zeroed in on these great backwoods cigars, and I was like, oh my God, Crickfoot would smoke these. And it, for whatever reason, it just, that's where my brain went. I'm like, oh, this is so funny. And, after that, I filmed a couple scenes in and around Hatfield, and wouldn't you know, I kept finding the great backwoods cigar wrappers on the ground, like in the middle of the woods, or like in a park or something. I'm like, oh my God, this is too funny. And I have no idea where him drinking the Natty Daddy beer came from. I just thought it was funny to say. I don't know. And then my buddy Billy Leak, who did the cover artwork, he started drawing Crickfoot in all these compromising situations, or like shaking his butt, or like riding on this hot dog. And there's one piece of artwork where there's this Crickfoot sitting at a picnic table, and he's like slamming a beer and smoking a cigar. I'm like, oh my God, this creature is like some sort of like nighttime womanizer, prowler, pervert thing. It all just kind of like spiraled out of control. But I kept going with it. Initially he just stole hot dogs. That was it. But now all of a sudden he's all over the place, and he's in, people's houses, and he's in the backyards, and he's all over the, Hatfield, and doing all sorts of mischief. And I just kind of let people run with it. And then, and then I embraced it. So it's kind of, this whole thing is, part of me, and it's now part of my life, and now it's part of everybody else's life. And, it's really, Crickfoot can be whatever you want him to be. The most outlandish tale you have, you can associate it with Crickfoot, and, we can all get a laugh.
It's funny. You're onto something with this whole hot dog thing, because that's a big deal. Because I'm on Facebook a lot. I'm also on IG, and there's a lot of these pages that have thousands and thousands of followers, and all they do is, one's called, I think it's Hot Dogs in Unusual Places. Yeah, and
I follow that one too.
See, there you go. So I think you struck a nerve, and it's one of those things, a timeless classic, because there's nothing, America, apple pie, and hot dogs, because that's what this country's built on. And especially with these hot dog eating contests, because there's this one, and this is, I don't know if it was in the 90s or early 2000s, this one tiny lady. She might have weighed maybe like $1.05 or $1.10. But she was killing these guys in these hot dog eating contests. Yeah. I don't know where she put it all, but no. So you talked about, I know I got a side tangent, but you talked about hot dog, and then people call them glizzies now too, which is great.
Yep. Oh yeah. I was saying, I was gonna have it on the. I wanted to bring it for the video, but it's still had some coffee in it. It's dirty upstairs, but I had a coffee mug made with like Crickfoot with his like arm hanging out of a truck with a hot dog, a beer, and a cigar on the front of the truck. It just cracks me up so much that every time I look at it, I'm like, oh man, this is such a ridiculous thing, but it's so funny, and it can go in so many different directions. And
that's the beauty of it. You could make Crickfoot Part 3 or 4, and it's still fresh because there's so much material.
Oh yeah, it's tons, and I think the beauty of it was everybody. I encouraged heavy improvisation, because I had this concept in my head, but it was hard to I didn't want a finite script, like this is the script we're following, and you got to say these lines, and this is what it's going to be. I wanted everybody to just really pull from their inner creative self and come up with the most wild, outlandish stuff that they could. And it completely worked, because all the work everybody put into their characters was such, so top notch. There was families that got involved. One of the stars of the film, it was a father and a son, and he's the kid's younger. I think he's about like 9 or 10, but he has a real affinity for, making little short films himself and editing on his iPad and, all that kind of stuff. So I encouraged, him and his dad to do a piece where they go out and they hunt for a crickfoot in the park or whatever. And I said, hey, why don't you have him put it together, splice all the material together, and I'll just drag it and drop it when it's appropriate. So I was able to actually give him I think an assistant editor credit on IMDb, and just kind of encourage him in that. So it turned into this passion project that involved, a lot of families putting it together and working towards the end goal, which is something that I highly encourage from the beginning. It's like, I want this to, be a springboard for people going in whatever direction, a springboard for their art, a springboard for their creativity. So kind of getting everybody involved like that, really meant the world to me. And they were able to take their ideas and run with it.
And talking about the people that contributed to your film, I know you and I know some of those folks that contributed. Can you, for the listeners, let's find out, they're just now discovering Crickfoot and what you do. Who contributed to those movies? I know you talked about Shannon did as well, right?
Oh yeah. Shannon Atkins was involved. Matt Burns played a humongous part in this, and he really pushed me. I wish I had a list of everybody you could list off, but I mean, if you go on the IMDb and look up Legend of Crickfoot, everybody in the cast really brought their A game and put it together. But yeah, Matt was a huge spearhead. He gathered everyone together and put the idea out. And I was able to get a ton of footage from so many people. But I highly encourage you, if you're listening to this or watching this, go look up The Legend of Crickfoot on IMDb and look at all the names that are associated with characters. Every person on that cast roster contributed a humongous part, or very integral part, or very important part to the completion of this film. And without that entire list of people, this movie would not be what it is today. They took this silly idea, they made it their own, and they pumped out some great material. So just like literally everybody on the cast list and the production team and the artwork team, everybody contributed the 1,000%.
That's a beautiful thing, because it seems that you have a great support group and great folks working with you. And we talked earlier today through the chat, and I know that it premiered in Waynesboro a few months ago, but now you found a distribution deal, and now Crickfoot is going to be spreading its crickness somewhere else. Yeah. So I didn't know how to segue into that, but yeah, it was awful.
No, that's fine, man.
Yeah, I'll try better next time.
Oh yeah, so I got linked up with newer indie distribution company, Blood Pact Films. I just went over the contract with them, and I have everything in order. So I'm working to finalize all the video footage on my end. I had to do some tweaks to the master file, and the next step this week is to get I got to get the subtitles worked out, and then I have to get that over to the distributor, and then the owner of that, Shane, he's going to take it and work on distributing it across streaming platforms, because that's something I don't know anything about. So it helps to have a partner that's interested in indie films and the concept and the film itself to want to do that legwork and get it out there. But that, I think we're looking to have it distributed sometime in July. That's the goal. So that's what I'm shooting for.
And with that, so if we go back, let's go back to Waynesboro a couple of months ago or so. And I like to ask a lot of my guests this, especially either filmmakers or authors, because there's a great vibe into the answer. When I ask this question, you're sitting there in a theater and the movie's going to play. You have these people coming to watch you, your great supporters, but it doesn't become real until that projector hits that screen and it starts playing your film. when you're sitting there and watching? How did you feel, brother?
I honestly just felt really proud of everybody that put it together, and submitted footage and let me use their music to set the mood and the tone and all that kind of stuff. And it was a very satisfying feeling knowing that all this work that you put in, all the editing hours, all the, I would watch the film over and over and over and over again to make sure I was cutting footage in the right spot, make sure things weren't dragging out, just to keep the thing moving. So there was a lot of gut feeling that came into that play. So just kind of sitting there and watching this thing play on the big screen, I was just, it was my first time doing anything like that. That was a completely new experience for me. And it just really validated my drive, and that, if you plan it out well, if you are a good team worker and you can take constructive criticism and feedback and guidance from others, that you can get the best out of yourself. But you have to trust the people around you. You have to trust their guidance, and you have to trust their past experience, to get to the end goal. Because it wasn't just me. I just had the silly idea, but everybody around me and that was there supporting the idea just showed me that, okay, there are people as equally as wacky as me in this world that like silly stuff, and two, that they're going to support you and push for you to be your best self. And that's what I really felt like. I felt, I felt probably the best version of myself that I felt in a long time, standing in that theater watching that thing on the screen.
Awesome, man. Because now, logical question would be, I know you're now a few months removed from the release of Crick Foot, and now you have the amazing distribution deal. I'm almost afraid to ask because I know sometimes people want some downtime. So what's next, man? What's in your mind right now? What are you going to be working on?
So as of right now, we have an idea for the sequel, which, that'll happen eventually in the future. But right now I am just kind of taking it easy through the summer. Probably be a lot of behind the scenes talking and strategizing and idea brainstorming. But honestly, the next thing I have on the plate for Crick Foot is in the fall, on November 9th at Widener University, which is in Delaware County, the county below me, closer to Philadelphia. We're going to have another screening of Crick Foot, a public screening for students and general public alike. So right now, the next thing on my plate is, building up promotion for that, getting the word out, crafting the event appropriately. Because I like to take my time with event planning. I was a professional event planner and event coordinator for a couple years, about almost 5 years. So I went into this already having my processes and systems in place on how I like to plan things out. So, taking my time and working with the event company Delco Horror Haven, they're the ones putting on the event at Widener University. Working with them to make sure it's promoted appropriately. We have, some nice incentives. I pitched the idea of having a hot dog stand there, so people could get some free hot dogs before the show, just to kind of build into that whole experience. And making it almost like a 4D type experience. You have hot dogs, maybe some sodas, and you can enjoy that, hang out with your friends before you go in to watch the movie. So I'm very big on the wraparound experience. Like, for me to sell this idea, even for the premiere, I had to kind of embody the whole Crick Foot lore and the mythos and all that stuff. So honestly, the next big thing is just working with Delco Horror Haven and making sure that event gets kicked off and people have a good time.
Awesome, because you're talking about you got to set the mood. Of course, you would have hot dogs there. Now, is there a particular brand of hot dog you're going to have there, or we're just going to be whatever?
I would have to stay true to my roots and definitely go with the Hatfield hot dog. I've actually I forgot to mention this earlier, but for the premiere, I worked with a restaurant across the street from the Waynesboro Theater called the Crispy Biscuit, and they sold a what they were dubbing a Crick dog for the day, Crick Foot Dog, which they collaborated with me to come up with. It was like a chili cheese dog with some onions and some jalapenos or some sweet peppers on it. I forget. There were definitely some peppers on it. So, that's just an extension of selling the whole thing as, partnering with other, teams and businesses and, other organizations to really, sell this ridiculous idea. But I wanted to mention that, also, like if you're going to be doing stuff like this, just a word of advice, if you're, a new filmmaker, a new event planner, always approach the businesses around you, to try to partner and to try to get involved, because, there was, obviously I was just trying to, make sure businesses, we're having people in town for the premiere. I wanted to make sure they had a good recommended spot to go get something to eat, maybe grab some lunch before they hit the premiere. And, you'll be shocked at how sometimes simple it is to partner up with a local business just to make sure you drive traffic local. But yeah, definitely Hatfield hot dogs.
Excellent. It's funny. You kind of almost answered the question I was going to ask you, because
Nice.
with a lot of filmmakers out now, and some of them haven't even started yet. They got the idea, but haven't taken that leap yet. I was going to ask you if you have any advice for them, but you gave a little bit of advice as far as, connecting and being in partner with local businesses. Is there anything else kind of advice you can give them to help them on their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a strong believer, and I learned this in, the marketing world, is to, make sure what you're doing is always kind of branded. So if you're going to do like a pitch letter or, a proposal letter of any kind for a business, make sure I have your logo on there, a nice readable font, make sure it's professionally written. And I always try to make sure I hand sign stuff. The partnerships I did in Waynesboro were all done digitally because it's a bit of a distance away from me. But, if I'm going to a business in my area and I want to pitch an idea or pitch a partnership, is, just make sure you have your materials. Even if you're sending an email, proposal letter, throw together a PDF file in, even Google Docs. Make sure you have your logo on there, nice and, readable and kind and courteous. Just be very transparent about what you want. I always make the suggestion that if there's going to be any monetary exchange with a potential partnership, is to talk about that. I talk about that first. So that's always my, like with Waynesboro Theater, I wanted to talk about financials right away. That I don't want money. Here's a link to donate after we have, after you have all your revenue figured out. This is where I want the money to go. And they can, the business can figure out how much percentage they're going to be able to donate or how much they're going to kick back. But just get financials out in the open. Get the parameters of a partnership out in the open right away. That way there's no question in the back end. And if the partnership doesn't work out, then, you just move on to the next one. Just take it as a learning experience and go. But yeah, just be branded, be professional, and just be transparent about your goals.
Excellent. I think that advice can not only work for filmmakers, but also other types of entertainment. If you're a band, if you're a podcast or anything else, just make sure you do honest business and you'll always go far in whatever industry you're at.
Yeah, I'm big on having, one sheet together. I think I have to update mine. But like a nice, and I just put it together on that graphic design program, Canva. I put together a nice one sheet. I can download as a PDF. I can, kind of hyperlink things on there that I want to. So if you click on, the Legend of Crick in my bio, you can go see the trailer right away. Just making sure, people that view that stuff your links go directly to where you want them to look, because, as humans now, we, in this digital and technology-based world, we have a couple seconds to grab people's attention. And if if your link's broken on your thing, just somebody might just bag that recommendation right out of the gate. Like, oh, link's broken. I'm not going to go research it. So make sure everything's in line. Make sure it's presentable. And it's kind of falls into, that stuff is kind of boring to put together. Putting together a production spreadsheet or a spreadsheet to track your expenses or where your mileages go. It's like, it can be kind of boring, but in the end, if somebody has a question on my team, I can go, well, hold on, let me just look this up real fast, get the answer for them, right away, as well as your professional relationships. Just be able to answer questions immediately or send them a document that they can link out to and, get the answers right away.
Awesome, because at the end of the day, although we love what we do and how we do it, it's still a business and it still has to run smoothly, like you said.
Yeah.
So that's perfect advice. And now the golden question for the listeners of Let's Find Out who haven't seen your movie yet, didn't make the premiere. Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned earlier to learn more about the movie, go IMDb, but where can they grab a copy if there's any left in the original DVDs, or where can they find out more about your film?
Oh, sure. You can just go right to my website, www.zombiefuel.net. On the top, you'll be able to, link out to my store website to be able to purchase a copy. I have I definitely have some copies available. There's some prints that are available, and I have some really nice buttons that I got made. I just want to give a shout out to if you have a film or you have an album coming out and you need some promotional buttons, just like 1-inch promotional buttons. You're gonna, the person that I go to all the time, it's a business based out of like the Philadelphia area called Evolve Soul. So you want to go to evolvesoul.com, I believe, EVOLSOUL.com, and you can also look up Evolve Soul on Facebook and I believe Instagram. They have very quick turnaround, do exactly what you want. So I have some of the buttons that I made up for sale on my website. But yeah, www.zombiefuel.net, and you'll see on the link on the top up there, and you can just hit the store or merch button and purchase as many copies as you want.
Awesome. And when that sequel comes out, and I hope it does, please come back on the show. We're going to talk more about Crick Foot and what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Be happy to come back.
Thank you, my friend. This has been another excellent episode of Let's Find Out with Diego. Please check us out on all our social media pages, as well as on YouTube, and we're also on Rumble. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, Let's Find Out is now on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Catch the show on Saturdays at 2 a.m. For more information, please visit kgradb.com. That's kgradb.com. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, my friends.
Let's find out with Diego, the power of Diego Mania. All content for Let's Find Out is property of CoHostDiego and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, CoHostDiego, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.